This is the only way to consistently make better videos. And it's gonna sound obvious, but nobody does it. You probably don't even do it. But it's auditing your channel. What does that even mean? Most creators think it means just looking at your top videos and recreating them. And that might buy you a temporary spike in views, but it kills your long-term growth and traps your creativity. And that's why you see top creators have viral videos and then never have a good video again. But the fact that you're watching this means you don't want to be like them. So I'm gonna break down exactly how I audited my channel and how you can do it too. Regardless of your niche, it's gonna work. But fair warning, the results you get are gonna tie directly into the time you can put into it. And it's honestly worth every second. First up, you wanna pull up your top performing videos. You're gonna start noticing a pattern. Some videos get a lot of views, but bring in very little subscribers. And then other videos that don't get as many views, it seems like everybody's subscribing. And there's a psychological reason for that, but we'll get into that later on when we dive into the analytics. But for now, it's also important to know what your goal is, because if you're a controversial channel, a lot of your views are not going to convert to subscribers. So you just kind of got to know what it is you're going for, and that way you can make videos for that. But whatever your goal is, your analytics are going to tell you how to get there. They're basically a roadmap. There are 5 specific metrics I like to look at. First is impressions. That's how much your video is being put in front of somebody. Then there's the click-through rate. How many of them people click? You got views, average view duration, and then subscribers gained. But these stats aren't just numbers, they're really diagnostic tools, because they tell you exactly what area of the video you're messing up on. If your click-through rate percentage is low, that means your title and thumbnail failed to spark curiosity, or you're making a video nobody cares about. 2, if your video has high views but doesn't gain a lot of subscribers, that means your payoff is probably doo-doo. It's kind of like those sci-fi movies where you're not really sure what's going on, so you watch the whole thing, but then at the end, the big mystery is actually stupid, or you just don't like it, and so it kind of ruins the whole movie. Next is the average view duration. If you don't have a good average view duration, your video is going to perform bad, but simply means the video is not engaging enough. That's kind of the most important subject in making any video, is keeping the viewer watching. Honestly, if you have an average view duration that's high and you can consistently do that, you're gonna make it on YouTube. So let's use a real example from my martial arts channel. I go to my top performing video, look at the analytics, compare them to what the video is actually doing. In this video with Ilia Topuria, first thing I did was leverage authority. Ilia Topuria is a famous fighter, and people are gonna click because it's what a famous fighter does. And next, on the thumbnail, I use an absolute statement. So an absolute statement, it's like all encompassing, right? So when I say same trap every time, or if I'm like best fighter ever. This video got a 5% click-through rate, but because it had 3 million impressions, I don't even think that's necessarily low. I think that's good, because obviously the higher impressions you get, the lower your click rate's gonna be, because now your video is being pushed to a wider audience, and a lot of those people just simply might not be interested. But like we said before, look at the average view duration here. It got 2 minutes and 5 seconds of watch time on a 4.5 minute video, which is nearly a 50% retention rate. For a long form video, anything under 30%, you need to work on your script writing, you need to work on keeping the viewer engaged, because under 30% is pretty doo-doo. And if you can do it above 60%, you are golden. That's good. Important to note not to confuse this with short form videos though, because short form is different. Obviously, making someone watch a longer form video is going to be a lot harder. So if your video is an hour long versus like a video that's 2 minute long, it's going to be easier to have a higher watch time percentage on the shorter video than the longer video. But you can't just do this with one video, because you have to establish a pattern. After breaking down all of my top performing long form videos, I noticed some patterns, which I'll have posted in our community. If you guys want to go check it out, you can. Also, I'm just going to go over it real quick. When I told a story, my watch time would skyrocket. But when I focused purely on technique and I taught them how to do something, my subscriber count would always increase significantly more. And also, when I did this with my short form video, most of the patterns were the exact same. First was leveraging authority, which I would do in the thumbnail and the title usually too. View that as like buying yourself 10 seconds of attention. Like someone might click because of that famous person. If you don't engage them, they're just gonna leave. Next is the absolute statement. And we talked about it earlier, but this is just high stakes language that leave a curiosity gap. For example, it's like the most dangerous strike ever thrown. Just an extreme version of your opinion. But then last is myth busting. You take a common belief, tell the viewer it's wrong. They're gonna wanna watch more because they're gonna wanna know why something they believe is wrong. Also, pro tip, have some actual good evidence, because I find if you bust a common myth and then provide evidence, they'll take a lot of value from that and they'll come back. So I think myth busting out of those 3 gets the most subscribers.
But what we've been
been talking about so far is what brings the viewer in. You have to break down the actual framework of your video to understand what it's doing so you can recreate it. After the hooks, top videos followed 2 frameworks. First, state the myth, then introduce an authority that contradicts that myth. So now I'm leveraging authority while myth busting. An example of that would be a common myth in martial arts is that you need to keep your hands up to be a successful fighter. And then you show them a video of Muhammad Ali punching with their hands down and you're like, actually you don't. And then drop the takeaway at the end, why it's important, how it fits into the world today. My other framework, I would make an extreme claim about a character, most likely an authoritative figure, leveraging that credibility like we talked about. Then construct a story leading on how they became the greatest striker in MMA and then proof that they are, and then why it's important. And then, pro tip, during these videos, the longer it is, the more micro hooks you add in. Like after you get done explaining anything, you have to understand people's attention spans are like, it seems like everyone has ADHD. They just want to be on to the next, on to the next. So after every point you make, or I would add a transitional hook to reset their attention span. Just off the top of my head, if I got done explaining a punch, at the end of that, I would say something along the lines of, but that punch only works because he stands in a certain way. And then I would explain, you know, okay, he stands like this. And you would think that maybe these micro hooks keep getting repetitive, like the viewer might notice them, but I guarantee you they will not. But this whole video boils down to one philosophy. If you want to grow, you have to critique your work and learn from every single video you put out. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.